Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Kingdom Hearts HD Dream Drop Distance playthrough. So, yeah, we have met our three leads for the grid. Sam, Kevin, and Cora. Obviously, in the original film, they were played by, well, Kevin was played by Jeff Bridges, Sam was played by Garrett Headland, and Cora was played by Olivia Wilde. Obviously, while they've got their visual likenesses here, it's definitely not them voicing them. So, Kevin Flynn is voiced by the amazing Fred Tattershaw. Sam Flynn is voiced by a gentleman called Ross Thomas, who has not been in anything that I am actually aware of. Like, there is absolutely nothing that I would recognise him from. Oh well! And then Cora is voiced by Erin Cottrell, who similarly has not really been in anything, or as anything that I would necessarily recognise her from. And as I explore this delightfully large area, there does seem to be a lovely helicopter going over outside my house, so anything could be happening right now, which is always fun and exciting. But yes, this particular part, while long, it's not necessarily going to see a huge amount of progress made. And that is largely because we're going to be riding a solar sailor in this part, and in doing so, there's a lot of chests in the solar sailor across many different levels, and it's very easy to get lost. So yeah, I'm gonna have fun with that. So yeah, we're in this one for the long haul, which is it's a bit depressing, but it's okay. We will make do. While we're here, I suppose I can point out that there's a couple of enemies that I believe are kind of specific to the grid. So there's the KO Kabutos. They may not be fully specific to here, but they certainly look more in line with the grid. But the two main ones are the E-Gliders and the Cyber Yogs, because they're much more neon in terms of their lines and everything, so it kind of makes sense that you do sort of first see them here, and they are slightly terrifying. And there are a lot of enemies that you can kill here, so you can do a relatively decent job of grinding if you would like to, because they just seem to keep coming, and who am I to deny them the chance of being murdered by Sora and his Keyblade? I mean, it would just be cruel not to oblige them. But I suppose since we're rolling through here and I'm having a delightful time getting all confused by all sorts of different things, the grid is a very easy place to get lost in. I keep kicking things today. You probably heard a few knocks and bangs as we've gone throughout the past couple of parts. Yeah, it's just I keep kicking things, like I keep kicking my desk and hitting it, and clearly it's just the frustration with my desk of deciding that yes, this was an excellent part to have all together and not do much editing on, because that's sort of what I do a little bit. And also because trying to cut these things down is just a little bit of a nightmare because of how exploration works in Kingdom Hearts, and because of when I pick up chests and all that jazz. So, yeah, as I was saying, it's very easy to get lost in the grid, and it's because the sort of areas end up looking very similar, or at least the directions that you come in and exit look very similar. So, like, in this particular area, the bridge, I really can't tell which way is where I entered and which is the way that I exit. The thing that really also doesn't help is that you can also exit via the transporter, which will take you, I believe, to the city, which is the area where we started. Great, but not particularly helpful to us, because I can't even remember where we've got to go to exit. Because the way that we progress the story here is that we go to the docks, and then we get on a sailor surfer to go to the rectifier to get to the throne ship, and that is where we will then be able to, you know, try and defeat our foes and be the hero and save the day. I will say I really like Sparkra and Spark and Sparkga. They're great moves, but they do take up a... well, they take a bloody long time to actually kick into gear, which is obviously time in which an enemy could hit you and therefore completely screw you over. So, not necessarily always recommended. And actually, there will come a point relatively... well, maybe not relatively soon, but... there will come a point where I just decide to stop using that as a move because it just was not helping me at all, and my god, more enemies! It's like the special portal from bloody hell, they just don't want to stop! My god! And actually, hilariously, when I eventually get to Ricky's story, there was one particular special portal that I tried to do that did not go very well. And it will be the reason for an edit that you will see during that, so like a save point or whatever, so it's not too horrendous. But yeah, it was... oh! It was not fun. Because the enemies just really were out for my blood. But I think that since, you know, they're all done, I can now go in and just try and find the chests, because there are a couple of chests in this area that I need to pick up. I mean, I might have already picked them up, but I just needed to be sure, because, you see, I've been going around this area so much, I'm just like... which way's up again? It's literally right next to the save point. Of course it was right next to the save point. Okay, so at least we do only have two exits here. One being the transporter here, the other one being the road. So at least that helps. But yeah, I think I did get slightly confused as to how I was meant to exit this area, because I was just like... what? Because effectively what you've got to do is you've got to talk to the transport if you want to go that way. I was also thinking, can I get up here anyway? What the hell is going on? I was just so confused, but... yeah, it's just like, just examine that and you can head to the docks. That's all I needed to do. Clearly, I was going out of my mind. But it's okay, because we've made progress. That's alright. Now, I will say, the reality shift for this area can be quite useful because of the different abilities that you can get with these things. So switch target means that the enemy Dream Eaters will then target their allies, so they effectively become an extra Dream Eater for you. You can still, you know, kill them if you want to, but they're your ally until you decide to do so. Or until it wears off, but I can't remember whether it does wear off or not. You've got Moving Spark, which is effectively where you take over the body of the Dream Eater, allowing you to ram it into anything and explode, which is really useful and really quite powerful, actually. And I believe there's also something which is like a prize box or something, and that basically gives you more money and prizes and so on and so forth. That's quite useful. I think there is another one or two. Not that I can remember what they're blooming called. You will see them all throughout the course of the playthrough, don't get me wrong, because I know I got that trophy. Because the way that works is that there is a trophy for using every single reality shift and achieving a certain goal with it. So like the slingshot, it's kill 5 enemies at once or hit 5 enemies at once. For Faith Line in La Cité de Cloche, I think it's about, yeah, get 5 in that kind of cycle of using it. Here it's use every single ability that you can. Praxis Paradise, because that one puts you in a bubble, it's pick up 6 enemies in a single round. Then the world after that is use every type of Wonder Comic. One after that is kill 4 enemies with one of them, and then the one after that is destroy all chains in a single slash 3 times in a row. So, you know, I'm surprised I actually have remembered those. Because normally that's the type of thing where I just go, nope, I'm going to completely forget that. But clearly not. And I've moved off of my Rent fixation, and I've now moved on to The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Because while obviously it is a Disney musical, and that wasn't exactly what I was going for initially, it was given a stage show adaptation, which is incredible. I think it was initially in German. I did mention this when we were in La Cité de Cloche. But then obviously it did go to... It was run in America, and I have happened to see a bootleg of the performance at La Jolla Playhouse, and it is just... it's incredible. And I felt, considering, you know, it was a jester, it made sense to begin this journey of different names with, yeah, going through The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And unfortunately I can't make any more, but we have got quite a few recipes now to play with. And since Mushnik's been used up, let's bring in somebody else. Oh, have I doubled up there? Or is that just a better Jesterbocki? I don't even know anymore. But let's put Joanne in there. And we'll begin to level her up. We're not there's going to come a point relatively soon, I want to say, where we are going to be switching Joanne out because she isn't going to be hugely useful to us. But she will get her time, will Joanne, the special fruits cat. Who's very fruity, but yes, we're going to board the Solar Sailor. And this is where my personal hell in this world arrives. So, the Solar Sailor. One long corridor. Great. but it has like 3 levels to it. So you've got an under level, which is where we are right now. You then get up to the mid level by climbing through all of this, and then you're able to get on top of the containers, which you'll see that we are inside at the minute. Great, but there's chests all over the shop. Some of them you can go down, some of them you can't, some of them you can... some of them have got things on top of them, some of them haven't. Obviously the ones that are on top and on sort of the outside middle level, they're okay. They're not too much of a pain to try and explore and find chests in. Everything else, however, absolute nightmare. And yeah, this is where I hopefully do begin to learn how this works. Okay, never mind, I just got really lucky. But yeah, the only way of getting out of there is by getting to do the auto-destruct thing. Delightful and an absolute pain. But yeah, I think it's definitely time for a drop-me-not, because that's getting perilously low. And from what I remember, we are going to be pretty okay on drop-me-nots for the majority of the game. I don't even really go out of my way to purchase them, but you can get quite low on them at times, and you do want to be careful if you are playing it as I am, where dropping is not what you want to be doing until you specifically ask it to do so. It can be a bit of an irritant if you do run out. But thankfully they are really easy to get, and you're never going to be so short on money that you can't get at least one drop-me-not. So it'll all work out, but yeah, I got so lost on the Solar Sailor. It sort of becomes nigh on impossible to tell what you've explored or what you have not explored. And I tried really hard. It's also far too easy to accidentally leave the Solar Sailor. Because of where the exit is, and because of how easy it is to accidentally run into it, there's every chance that you will just go through and trigger the next cutscene, which appears as soon as you enter the rectifier. I still cannot get over the word rectifier because it just doesn't sound right. I mean, it is right, because a rectifier is an electrical device which converts an alternating current into a direct one by allowing a current to flow through it in one direction only. But my brain's being just really dirty right now and is just thinking rectum. Because, yeah, that's appropriate. It's like there's a 12-year-old boy living in my head. Not pleasant. But I will take that. I'll take a switch target. It's not necessarily going to do me very good, because a lot of the time these ring meters aren't going to be in blooming target range. But hey, if it'll sort of work, it'll sort of work. I can make do with that. So yeah, pretty much the rest of this part is going to be on this frickin' Solar Sailor, because obviously it was trying to be really good at picking up all of the treasure chests, and obviously because I've mentioned that it's very easy to accidentally leave the area when you don't necessarily intend to do so, clearly that is exactly what is going to happen. So yeah, I decided I had to come back on it to get those chests, and then obviously I had to try and find the chests, and it was all stupidly delightful. And I just wanted to murder everything! Because of course! So, yeah... This is one of those parts where you just go, was this really the... Yeah, there's my surprise exit that I wasn't intending to do. Great. Thankfully, you know, we aren't thrown immediately into a cutscene, which is nice, but now I'm gonna go back through because I am not doing this without, you know, getting all of my chests. Because I know I've not got them all and I want them so badly. This is why saying you're gonna collect all of the treasure chests in a game of Kingdom Hearts is ultimately going to lead to some pain. Because, yeah, you're just like, yes, I'm going to do this, and then you're just like, no, why? Why did you think this was a good idea? I mean, also because, I mean, like, I got completely lost here, because I'm just like, why can't I exit from this room? Where's my exit point? I believe it's because the exit point's actually the roof, but because I haven't blown up the roof because I started down here, my only route is to explode this thing and go out this way. This is why this Solar Surfer is just really not very well thought out. Because it's just a confusing mess, really. And I'm not a fan. It's just like I'm down with the grid as a whole. In fact, I do think that I prefer it to Space Paranoids, because while this is oppressive and arguably rightfully so, Space Paranoids was oddly oppressive without actually really meaning to be that in a way. I mean, I know there was the MCU and everything, which sort of does make it a bit more terrifying, but there was sort of supposed to be a bit of wonder there, whereas the wonder is not necessarily really supposed to majorly be in the grid, so that oppressive look and feel is a lot more fitting. It's darker because it's more dangerous, and that makes a lot more sense. I mean, I suppose also the way the neon works, just it looks nicer. Because everything is very much sort of this dark, kind of dark greys and blues, and the neon sort of this white or light blue. Whereas Space Paranoid in Kingdom Hearts was a lot more garish, everything was a lot brighter. The light blue was a lot more cyan. Sora and Donald and Goofy had sort of kind of a brighter, darker blue, and there were kind of very vivid hues of red and pink and all that jazz. And it clashed a lot more. Whereas, I suppose, with the grid variation, you don't get that clashing, and therefore it looks better, so therefore it's a bit more pleasant to spend time in. I think also part of it might actually be down to the music, because obviously this is somewhat inspired-ish, not majorly, it's more the feel of the world than anything, but the soundtrack for Tron Legacy was obviously done by Daft Punk, so it's a lot more electro, a lot more dubstep, and that's obviously really quite cool. So the music for this world is sort of in keeping with that, and so it's much more engaging, I suppose, because I just remember the music for the Space Paranoids being kind of meh. And I mean, well, I suppose it is a little bit meh here, it flows a bit better. It doesn't sound quite as annoying as I remember Space Paranoids to be. So that makes me happier. And of course I'm still missing bloody one. I know I'm missing those 5 at the start, but I believe that they're located in the city. And also in part of the docks that you can't actually reach until you've beaten the world. So they're okay, I can live with those. I can't live with the ones on the Solar Surfer. Also, you know, because I've spent this long roaming the bloody place. I mean, it's already been 10 frickin' minutes of exploring this one bloody corridor. You can see why I'm really not a fan of this particular room, the Space Paranoids. It's just... it's the most irritating of the batch, without a shadow of a doubt. And the hilarious thing is that we're going to have to do this with Riku again. Thankfully, I'm pretty sure that when I do it with Riku, it's going to go a lot quicker. Because even though I'm going to get lost again, undoubtedly, it's going to be much easier to get through, because I know that I've got to go through all the different levels and I'm not going to accidentally fling myself into the exit, so I have to go all the way back in. And I will say, pretty much what you are going to want to do whenever you see one of those things is you are going to want to auto-destruct it, because that way it will explode, allowing you to get into the bits and pieces and places that you weren't able to before. So ultimately you are going to have to auto-destruct these. So learning how this thing actually works is in your best interests. Because otherwise you will spend bloody forever doing what I'm doing and failing miserably. Now come on. You are a smart person. Stop pressing the X button. Oh my god. It is really quite embarrassing to see how long it took me to get through figuring out how that thing worked. It's atrocious, really, because certainly not bragging, I am not a stupid person. Like, I have a university degree and everything. I have a job, which I do pretty well at. I've written a novel. So I'm not stupid, but sometimes I do things like this, and it really does make me question exactly how smart I am, because like, seriously, what is wrong with me? But I do believe, thankfully, that is everything on the Solar Sailor. So all I need to do now is get back to the rectifier, which thankfully will not take us that long, because all it means is just getting to the end of the room, and as soon as I've gotten out of this bloody thing, we can then move on to a different place, and what is ultimately going to be the end of our time in Sora's version of the grid. At least I'm pretty sure that is the case. Please, for the love of God, let that be the case, because I think I'll go absolutely nuts otherwise. I mean, I suppose the one good thing is that I have got some decent levelling up going on as I have explored this incredibly tedious room. But here we go. Finally, I'm just going to ignore you guys. I just want to get out of this Solar Sailor and onto the rectifier. Let's go!